canvas that we're going to use tonight. It is a 6x12, and I purchased this size canvas at Dick Blick. So what we're going to do is paint the pumpkins on, then we're going to add a little glass, a little vitrigraph, and create a really, really cute little pumpkin. My throat is super dry. I've been running my pie hole all day, so I'm going to have a sip. And we're going to get started. Yay, Robin! Welcome to the group. I'm going to tell you this. We have our own private Facebook page, too, while I unpack this. We have our own private Facebook group of women in our circle, and I'm telling you, that is worth the price of admission alone. Thank you, Sandra. That's worth the price of admission alone, because it is the most loving and encouraging group of women you'll ever be a part of. They love on you. They give advice. They encourage. They're super, super helpful when you have questions. So it's just the best group ever. We'd love to have you. So I'm going to tell you a perk. And Richard, that's right. I don't forget him, but he's just been MIA so long, I guess I don't think about it. So inside the group as well, anything we do on this page, anything we do on this page, you, if you're a member, you get the tracer for these projects, you get the color list, and we send you the link as well. Yay, Debbie! Hang on. I would keep, yes, you could do that totally as well. Abby, if you can't find the Christmas tree challenge, please email us at info@artshatter.com and we'll direct you to that page. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white to my canvas just to get a nice clean surface, and I might add just a smidge of green to it as well. So let me grab a brush and y'all just follow along. And I'm going to put this over here. It's kind of in my way. We'll just turn it that way so you can remember who I am. And I'm just going to get this white paint right on the surface of my canvas. Just paint it on all willy-nilly. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want a fresh, clean coat of white on the top of this canvas. So our pumpkins are sitting pretty. So I'll put some of that on the sides. Now I think, last night I added a little bit of green to my pumpkin background, so I think I'm gonna do the same thing because it was so pretty, I could not resist doing it again. All right, so that was the Hauser green light. Actually, I think it wasn't, but that's what I have on my table, so that's what we're gonna use. Oh. So I'm just gonna add a couple little dots to my canvas. We'll just put one. Oh, that wasn't a dot, was it? That was excessive. Let me grab a plate because I don't think that's gonna work. I'm gonna toss some of that over here. So now I'm just gonna come in with my green and I'm just gonna make crisscrosses. Just make some crisscrosses. I actually want it to be a little darker down here. So just make X, 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 back and forth, covering. I like it to be a little crazy, not too perfect, because it just makes for a more interesting background. Okay, so what I used was, Hauser green light. So we are going to, so we don't have to take forever. I don't know what I'm trying to say. So it didn't take forever. We're not gonna wait on this to dry. We're gonna hit it with my heat gun, get it dry in 3 seconds, and then we are going to start on tracing and painting our pumpkins. Debbie, the Christmas tree challenge is closed. Sorry, love bug. It is closed, but if you go to that page, you can get on the wait list for next year and be one of the first to know about it. We ended that on Wednesday. We actually did our trees Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we closed to new members of that. So almost done. Looks like it's dry. Awesome. So I'm gonna let this sit for just a few seconds to cool off. Then I'm just gonna take my little tracer and Shattered Circle, folks, I know I owe you last night's pumpkin still, but when we were done here yesterday, I was so wiped out, I just went home and crashed. But I promise you're gonna be getting that in the guides ASAP, as well as this one. So I'm just gonna line my pumpkins up where I want them on my canvas. And I do wanna leave a little space down here because I wanna add a little bit of green glass and some vitrigraph coming up out of that bottom pumpkin. So we're gonna put that up a little bit. And I see you, Lee. I was gonna do a pumpkin with a hat, but the one I sketched out in the 2 seconds, I had time to get prepared because I was running a little late getting back up here. I wasn't impressed. I didn't like it, so we'll do one tomorrow. Lee's been trying to get me to do a pumpkin with a witch hat forever. So I'm just gonna take my stylus. You can use a ballpoint pen if you don't have one, or a pencil. And I'm just gonna trace around the outside of all 3 of my pumpkins. Just trace lightly. You don't have to press hard. Just lightly. I'm going to move this hand up. I'm going to start in the center. I don't know why that end is so icky. So we'll just do, pumpkins are just parentheses. Okay, you start with an egg in the middle, and then you just make parentheses on both sides. Super easy, just takes a tiny bit of practice. And you know what? If you've been to the pumpkin patch lately, you know good and well there are no perfectly shaped pumpkins. So however you shape it is acceptable in my opinion, right? Okay, so now we have our stack of pumpkins. We only have the one stem for obvious reasons. So let me put this away. So the air that's blowing on me, I need to get one of those directional things on the vents that blows it the other way, because it blows right on me and it dries my stuff too fast when I don't want it to, and it blows all the stuff off my table. I don't like that either. So I'm gonna prepare, we're gonna do an orange pumpkin, a blue pumpkin, and an off-white pumpkin right here at the top. We're gonna do our stem, some curly cues. We're gonna add a little green glass, some vitrigraph, and it's all gonna be super, super fun. So I'm gonna add white to my palette first because I always use white. And yes, the wreath is going to be next month's project in the Shattered Circle. So if you love it, you need to come play with us. So now I'm going to use a little bit of Warm Sunsets, which is kind of a burnt orange. Not too burnt though, just a little burnt. And I don't want that on my plate. That's kind of one of those icky things that you don't want in your artwork. And I'm just trying to keep my colors where I know what I used. I know I used that, I know I used that. And I'm going to use a little bit of, thank you for the sharing and for the sprinkling. Let your friends know we're here. I'm going to use this spiced pumpkin, which is a little bit of a lighter, brighter orange. And the white, and that will be our bottom pumpkin. So we'll paint it first, then we'll put the next color on the palette. Did you bring all the brushes over here or just the ones you wanted to? Okay, so I am going to use this. This is about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 inch flat brush. Just whatever brush you're comfortable with. So I'm going to get a little bit of water on that. I got a little drippage. And we're going to start painting the bottom pumpkin with orange first. So I'm going to start with this bright orange. And we'll do the center. If you follow me at all, and especially if you followed me last year when I was in Pumpkin Land, you know I do some crazy pumpkins. And last year I did one of pretty much any and every color under the sun, in the pumpkin patch, etc., etc. And it was super fun. I'm just going to offload right there instead of my paper towel. So now while this is wet, I'm going to come in. I used the wrong color. I meant to use this color. So I'm going to come in and add that to the center because that's what I meant to use in the first place. I meant to start with my medium color, then do the darks and the lights. And now I'm just going to grab some whites, and I'm going to do this outside edge on the left with my white to give that pumpkin a little variation of color. Not cleaning my brush, I'm just adding color as I go, wiping off anything that I don't want. Let's go back to this darker color and just get a little bit of that on that edge. All right, so we're gonna do the next section. And okay, I meant to go with this darker of the oranges, so I'm gonna, or the medium, so I'm gonna start with that, because that's really the way I should have started in the first place, but par for the course for me right now. Doesn't really matter, it was just what I had planned in my head. You can see it totally worked out. No harm, no foul, no big deal. So there is, I'm gonna offload here again, so I don't waste. So now I'm gonna go into that darker color, orange, so it's just a darker orange. I'm gonna just bring some to that right edge. All right, blend it in to that original color. We'll offload. I'm gonna get some white on my brush, kind of blend it into the orange, so the white literally just turns into a lighter version of the orange. And you're gonna just bring that in to that side. I like it to be a little streaky and fun, not perfect. So that's what we end up with there. So I'm gonna do another one. We'll start with the orange. Y'all liking this so far? The oranges and greens look really good. I'll tell you what else. Last year I did an orange on black, and it was spectacular. We'll do one of those this weekend, maybe two. So just start in, let's get this this isn't the last one, but last one on this side, I guess. Little pumpkin section. We'll offload. Get a little bit of that dark color right on the edge. Just kind of blend it around that right side. Now I'm gonna get a little bit of white, kind of rub it in. And we'll come right on that inside edge and add the white. Working wet on wet, guys, so that you're not just making streaks of color. All right, so now we're gonna go to this side. And we'll do these two little wedgies. And the blue is gonna be a little bit faster because it's just blue and white. So we'll get this one in. Right up next to. And we're going to get some of that dark. We're just going to streak it in on this edge. Need to offload a little. I should have got a little bit darker, but I'm okay with this. Just add some of that darker orange to the right side of each section. Then you're going to go into the white, kind of rub it in a little, and come in and highlight that outside edge. And what this does is help kind of visually separate each section of your pumpkin, so it really makes it more three-dimensional. All right, so now I'm going to do this last little orange piece. Come around. That was just enough of that color, wasn't it? Fill it in. I'm gonna offload that, grab up a little bit of that darker orange. I think that was Warm Sunset. We'll come right on that edge, to the right edge of that pumpkin section. Just add a little bit of that. And I'm gonna go into my white, work it in, and then just come around and add some streaks of white into that wet orange, which kind of just turns it into another color of orange. All right, kind of lost that little section somehow. Give me a sec. Got a little rambunctious. There we go. All right, I feel like I need a little something there. I'm gonna go into my white and blend it and just add a little something there. All right, so that is our orange pumpkin. Super cute. And now we're gonna do blue, and for the blue, let me get that cleaned out really well. We don't want orange. Hey, Connie. I don't want orange in my pumpkin. So for the blue, I am using sky blue. Ooh. So we'll get a little bit of sky blue, and we're gonna use that white. Uh-oh, the sky blue has an issue. It has a clog. Let me grab another one. This one's kind of old. So let me grab a clean, fresh one. If I have it. Sky blue. Where are you? Okay, maybe I don't. That is spa blue. All right, we may have to dig for this one. Hang on, guys. I'm gonna dig it out because I love this color and it's great for this pumpkin. But nope, not even happening. All right, look at that nastiness. Ever have done that before? Terrible. That paint color is history. So let me grab a different one. We are going to use spa blue. We'll go with this color, which is spa, S-P-A, like I'm going to the spa and getting a massage. It's just a little bit of a lighter color. And let's get some of that. Nice, cool color. And we're gonna base coat out the center. Hopefully there won't be any orange in here. I'm gonna just start in the middle. Get right up next to the orange pumpkin. Yep, that is dirty. And get that blue on that next section. All right, then I'm gonna grab some white on my brush and I'm literally going to just make a few little streaks with that white. I'm actually gonna grab up some of that other color off my napkin and we'll hit one side. That's the sky blue. It's a little darker. So now we're just gonna do it in sections, just like we did. We'll start with this. And if you feel comfortable with your sections, knowing where they are, you could totally just paint like this, paint the whole section, and then just use your white to separate. I won't do this for the whole thing because I know some people find that more difficult. I feel like I need a darker blue for highlighting. I'm just gonna have to just keep getting up because I moved my paints and now they're not next to me. So this is mermaid blue. I'm gonna add tiny dollop to my palette. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get this off. I'm gonna go in with my white. I'm gonna add some highlight. This is why I don't do the whole section at once. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this darker mermaid blue, and I'm gonna hit that outside section just on the left side of it with that mermaid. And I'm gonna get a little bit more, and we'll do this section. Just kind of get some of that darker blue in. We get a little bit more, and we'll hit the side, and then we'll do the next couple sections right. How about that? All right, so I'm gonna offload. So this is spa blue. We're gonna do one section. I got orange on my brush. We'll do one section, and then I'll show you how I like to shade. Offload, grab a little bit of that darker blue on your brush, kind of brush it through so it's not a harsh line. You're gonna go on the outside edge and just brush some of that dark blue in. Then you're gonna go into your white, kind of dab it off, and just give yourself a little bit of that white on the opposite side. Last one. Section. Did I tell you guys? I can't remember what I said and haven't said because my brain hurts today. Obviously, not in the greatest mindset because I can't even remember to bring my paints to the table. But that if you're a member of the Shattered Circle, you get the tracer and color list for this included in your membership. Did I mention that? Because I know a lot of times, this is the darker blue. People, when I do some of these things, people are like, I want the tracer. But those are literally a perk of being in our monthly membership. So that's a good way to get all of these cute little videos that we do. Getting a little bit of white, kind of blend it in, and just add a little white for highlight. White, a little white, a little white, a little white. Okay, now we're gonna do this one. I'm gonna get a fresh, clean brush because it just seems to work better. And for this one, we are going to use, I'm trying to get my colors mixed up. This is called Vintage White. So it's just kind of a cream color. So we'll get some of that on our plate. And we're gonna get a tiny bit of traditional burnt umber. I'm gonna paint every color of pumpkin under the sun probably in the next 2 weeks. So just be prepared. So for the white one, or the top one, I'm gonna use Vintage White, which is kind of a cream color. May need a little more work over this green, so bear with me. I think we'll paint the whole thing. Need to go down into that blue pumpkin. And then I can still see my tracer line, so I think we'll paint. And then by the time we're done, it'll be dry, and then we could do a second coat while we do the fun lining. All right, so we're gonna just do this because that's showing through. I can see my lines right through there because these light colors are a little more difficult for one coat coverage. Ooh, mystery man, it's hot in here. Oh, he ain't listening. Got his earphones on, ignoring me. All right, one more section. How are y'all doing out there? Come around. All the way around. Gotta hold my mouth right while I'm going to the edge so I don't mess it up. You have to hold your mouth right too. You stick your tongue out and all that stuff. So while this is still on my brush, I'm just gonna offload some of the excess. I'm gonna take that dirty brush and I'm gonna dip just the corner into that burnt umber, just a tiny bit. You see how much is on my brush? I'm gonna come over here to a clean spot and I'm gonna, that was a little too much. Hang on, I'm gonna start over because that was excessive. So I'm gonna a little bit on my brush. I'm gonna brush it through so it becomes a color and not just a big hot line. And on the left side of the center, I'm gonna just brush on a little bit of that brown. I'm also filling in the center too. Just a tiny bit of that brown to highlight the difference in the off-white edge, just so you can see some shadowing. All right, so we're gonna go in just a teensy-weensy bit of that again. We're gonna come here, we're gonna highlight barely. So you can see where it's kind of starting to section off. I'm trying to get a little bit of the vintage white on my brush as well, just to help fill in. I'm gonna hit this one more time. All right, we're gonna get a little umber, blend it in. We're gonna do this last little outside edge. What this does is add a little bit of dimension to your pumpkin. Didn't quite go good enough. A little bit of dimension to your pumpkin so it's just not a flat painted oval. All right, so you can dip into that umber, kind of smear it in and add a little more to it. I'm gonna offload, grab a little white, and we're gonna bring in some white. We may wait for that to dry a little. Bring in a little white on the edge of each pumpkin. Now let's do the right side. So that's super dry, so I'm gonna add a little bit of color. The air came back on because I was hot, and it's blowing me dry. All right, so I'm gonna go into my umber again, just on the corner. I'm gonna go back and forth to blend that in. And on this next section here, on the same side, that left side, that was a lot. I'm just gonna blend right next to that. Let's come down. Then we have one more to do. I'm gonna get a little bit of that vintage white because that's kind of dry. And I'll get a little tiny bit of the umber. Go back and forth to blend it in. And this last line, I can still see, whoa, I can still see the line that my tracer created. So I'm gonna make that last little section. Now, I'm gonna try to clean my brush a little. Going up I'm gonna hit this with the blow dryer just for like 2 seconds because I want to add some white, but I really want it to pop. And show up because it just blends in a little bit with the vintage white too much. So I'm going to just get a little bit of that white on my brush, kind of blend it into my bristles a little. And on the opposite side of the brown, I'm just going to add a few little strokes of the whites. Really helps kind of make it pop, gives it that kind of a highlight look. Squish, squish, squish. Add a little here. Squish, squish, squish. Add a little here. And even come in and just lightly add some of that to your other pumpkin pieces as well. All right, so last thing we have to do is our stem. Clear that blue away. The last thing is our stem, and we're gonna paint, I'm gonna paint that green. I'm going to use this dark green, which is called avocado. Then we'll add a tiny bit of that umber that we already put on our plate to it because this is a freshly picked pumpkin on top, but it's starting to brown up just a little. So I'm going to find a round brush and I'm going to go into that avocado color and I'm just going to fill in where I traced it onto my canvas. I'm going to just fill that in just like a coloring book. All the way into your pumpkin. Come on, all the way down. I'm going to offload that. I'm going to grab a little bit of that brown, kind of smush it into my brush a little. And then I'm going to come back and on one side, I'm going to brush in that brown. Wipe it off. And I'll get a little bit of white. And on the other side, I'm just going to add a little bit of that white to that wet green so it really kind of changes that color. So you should end up with something, yay, like this. Now we are going to add some squigglies, but I want to show you how to do that. If you're old and tired like me and you have a little shaky hand thing going on, I'm going to show you how to do your detail work with a pen. But real quick, I'm going to hit that with my dryer. Dry, 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 dry. Literally 2 seconds. And I'm going to use this pen. This pen came from Hobby Lobby, okay, in the art department where they sell all those pens. It is called a Master's Touch graphic marker, 0.5. It's got a really teeny tiny little point on it, okay? So we want a real fine line. So I'm going to show you on this piece of paper. It's got a really fine line to it, all right? So now what I'm going to do is use this pen to outline. And I'm going to outline this first. I'm going to add a few little extra lines. So then I'm going to come in and just make short, quick strokes in my pumpkins. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not trying to outline them perfectly. I just want some really loose, fluid strokes that really make that pumpkin stand out and pop, okay? So now I'm going to do the same thing to this blue one. Just add some strokes. Doesn't matter if they're in line or not. Then we'll do the orange one, same thing. Just add, you can overlap. And I'll show you up close kind of what you end up with. I'm going to add a few little lines to those as well. Okay, I'm going to show you what this looks like now. So here is what your little white pumpkin looks like. Then you have the blue, and then you have the orange. Super, super cute. Let's move all this aside because we're about to do the fun part now. Oh, we do not do monthly kits for the Shattered Circle projects, but we do sell the glass. We sell glass, we sell bubbles. We're about to be adding glass strips to for our members only. So we try to supply you with glass and the glass bits that you use, but all the other stuff you would have to get for yourself. So now we're going to do the fun stuff, guys. I want to show you what I'm going to do. I actually brought a little bit of green reflective and I brought some clear to the potty. And then I want to show you this. This is super, super fun. This is called vitrigraph, okay? This I bought on Etsy, and look at this. It is like silly string in glass form, okay? So we are gonna just break off a few pieces and add maybe 3 pieces of vitrigraph to, I'm just gonna leave this one out. Look at that, isn't it crazy? Super fun when you're doing glass art florals. You know what? You don't even have to have good penmanship for this. When you're outlining like this, the messier you are, the better it is. Okay, so I'm going to use some of this, but first I'm going to add my glass to the bottom. Okay, so we don't want these pumpkins just floating. Oh, I did forget the squiggles. Thank you for the reminder. So let's just take that same pen. We're going to go, I'm going to start at the base of the stem, and I'm just going to come out and make a couple of curly cues. And you can make those however you want, whatever your heart loves. So I'm going to do one little one there. So that's super easy with this as well. Okay, so this is green reflective. We are out of regular green because the entire country is out of regular green for some reason. That's Christmas season. I don't know what's the deal with the green, but I'm going to take some of the bigger bits out because that's a small space. We don't want to have a ton. I'm just going to grab up some of this green glass and I'm going to put it on the bottom. Then I'll kind of micromanage it after I get about how much green I want on here. So that's about right for me. I'll put the rest in the bag. So that was literally a handful, not even a handful. All right, so now I'm going to kind of push it around, get it where I want it. And now what I'm going to do is add clear. I love clear because it allows you to add the glass without covering up your artwork. All right, so you can add the clear on top of your art and still see your art through the glass, which I love. And it allows me to add more glass to the bottom without hiding my pumpkin. We'll add a little layer of that, literally a tiny handful. And vitrigraph. Okay, so I just want a few little pieces coming out of here. Oh, I was going to use some more of this, so I put it away too fast. I just want a few pieces coming out of my glass, coming up around. So I'm going to just break this with my fingers to about the size that I want them. That's a little bit more than I wanted, so I'm going to break it again. Ugh. So I'm just going to add this piece of vitrigraph right in my glass. I'm going to kind of push it down in and rearrange a few things. Put this back on top. Now I'm going to get another piece. And this piece is good too. Love it. I'm just going to break it right off. And I'm gonna add this one right there with it. I'm gonna overlap them right there. So you got a little hay or straw or grass coming up out of there. And now I'm gonna add one more. This is a good one. I'm just gonna break it off right where I want it. Guys, these are spectacular for stems and just when you want something crazy in your art. They're super fun to use. So I'm gonna take this one and I'm just gonna stick it kind of right in here. I feel like I need more, but I'm not gonna overdo it. Not gonna overdo it. Keep repeating that. So just a few little pieces of vitrigraph. You could do as many as you want. You could do a whole slew of them. As a matter of fact, I feel the need. Feel the need for a couple more. So I like odd numbers, so I'm gonna do a couple more. I'm gonna do this one here, and then I'm just gonna do this little curly one like right here in right there. So you could add them if you want. You can leave them out. You could do a bunch of them. Be cute to have like 10 or 12 of them sticking out. But we don't have time for all that. But I am going to take some of this clear glass, just a tiny handful of small bits, and I'm going to put them at the bottom of each of my little pumpkins, just in the base. And we're going to also add some seed beads too after we resin. So we're going to add a few little nuggets here, and we're going to add a few little nuggets here. Oh, that was my stomach. I know y'all had to hear that. Whoa, Nelly. My tummy said, girl, you're gonna feed me. I'm not very good at eating during the day. And then by 6 o'clock, my stomach is quite angry. Okay, you're making me upset. So I'm gonna put that there. And this one's hanging off the canvas and I don't even mind. All right, so we used just one string of vitrigraph. We still have a little bit of that left. I'm just gonna put it in my pile of scraps. And so now we're gonna resin, all right? I'm gonna make, last night I did that pumpkin and I think I did it with a ½ ounce. This is what we did last night. And I literally only used ½ ounce of resin. And I'm thinking that is plenty for this as well, because it's literally about the same size. So I'm gonna take my cups. I have 2 little baby cups. And I'm gonna mark them. I'm gonna mark one at ½ ounce. And I will let you know exactly how much I used. So I'm gonna mark one at ½ ounce. Boom. And I'm gonna mark the other one at ½ ounce. Boom. That way I can pour my resin without guessing, because those embossed cups are terrible. You can never see exactly where the lines are. So I'm gonna grab me up a couple of gloves. This is gonna be so cute. We're gonna add a few more little goodies to it after we put the resin on. I like to add the teeny tinies after I resin, because if I add the seed beads now, these teeny little beads, they're gonna roll and fly all over the place. But if you add them after you resin, they stick wherever you want them to. Did I use 1 ounce last night? Oh, I did, because I was trying to use 2 ounces and then I had the cup. Okay, so I need to probably do a ½ and ½. Thank you. Thank you for that. I would have been upset. So a ½ ounce. See, I can't remember. I can't remember. That's why everybody was saying an ounce, an ounce, an ounce. I was like, what y'all talking about? All right, so a ½ ounce of each. Okay, thank you for that. I would have been I'd have been so upset. So I'm using art resin. Okay, thanks guys for the heads up. I'm crazy. I'm using art resin. This is like the smallest resin kit you can get. It's an 8 ounce kit, which means you have 4 ounces of resin and 4 ounces of hardener. Okay, that's an 8 ounce kit. So Susan says, do you find leaving resin always on canvas? You're probably, I don't know if you're using this resin, Susan, but there could be a couple of issues. One is it could be too cold. I find that hard to believe right now because it's not really that cold anywhere, but it could be too cold. It could be that you aren't using quite enough resin or that your canvas is not level. So check those few things. And you can always do a second pour within 24 hours if you don't like the way it looks. So that's a 1/2 ounce of the hardener that has the white cap. I'm gonna put this away. I'm gonna move this over. We'll get this cup. So now I'm gonna use the hardener, or is this the resin? This is the resin. I'm crazy. So I'm gonna measure it to the 1 ounce line. When it gets close, you need to kind of stop pouring and go super slow because it's kind of like molasses, especially the hardener. It's a little thicker and it will keep growing. So if you pour right to that line and wait 30 seconds, it's gonna keep rising up and it's gonna be more than you think. So if you're new, if you're just joining, if you're just starting, make sure you measure in 2 cups. That way you know your measurement is correct. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take what's in my little cup and put it in a bigger one. Okay, 57 in Michigan. Whew. 57 is too cold for me. That's why I live in the South. Anything below 60, I'm not on board with. It gets cold here for like 1 month, maybe 2. It actually has snowed here in the Memphis area 2 years in a row around March, which is crazy pants because we hardly ever get that kind of stuff. So if you're using these little baby cups, you can totally clean that out with a paper towel. You can't wash any of this stuff in the sink. You can't, a lot of the stuff, if you use a brush like this to spread your resin, it's trash. Okay, you can't clean this with soap and water. You have to just wipe it out, let it dry, and then you can reuse that. So now I'm gonna pour the other side in. Catherine, you about ready for me? We're gonna put all this juice in, all this good resin and hardener. And then I'm gonna use my fancy silicone makeup applicator is basically what this was. I'm gonna use that to mix because it's just easier in this big bowl. Now what we're gonna do at this point, once you have your resin and your hardener in 1 cup, you're just gonna blend it, okay? You're not gonna beat it to death. You're not gonna over mix it. You're not gonna just whip it. You're gonna just blend it. Stir, scrape the bottom of your cup, scrape the sides, make sure it's super blendy, and you're gonna do this for 3 minutes. So while I'm blending and stirring for 3 minutes, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask me? Last warm day, 95. Oh my God, Elaine. Oh, that's crazy too, October. So if you have a question about the Shattered Circle, about the membership, about what we offer, if you have a question about resin, about the pumpkins we're doing, now's a good time to ask me. I have 3 minutes where my eyes are on you instead of my art piece, so I can answer anything that you need answered. So we'd love for you to come and join us over at the Shattered Circle. Yeah, sometimes you have to watch it, Susan. After you pour your resin and you've heated it up to get the bubbles out or whatever, you can come back and look at it like in 15 or 20 minutes because that's when, if you're gonna have some issues, you'll start to see those then. And as long as you're messing with it within 30 or 45 minutes, you can still spread that around. If it's too late, you can always just put another really super thin coat on your piece. Butterfly Beads by Anne. I sell glass in my on my website in my online store. It is artshattered.com. We have like 25-ish different colors of glass. Deb says, does art resin go bad? I have new bottles that have never been opened that I've never used. I think you can go to the art resin page and they'll tell you the shelf life once they're opened versus the shelf life once when they're unopened. I think you have a year or so unopened and maybe 6 month open, but don't get me to line about that. But I do know that they do have a shelf life, and you probably need to go over there. And if you have some that is turning yellow and you haven't had it very long, I think you need to call them and let them know, and they'll probably replace that. Okay? Kendra, the glass strands are called vitrigraph. Catherine posted that a few minutes ago if you want to go see if you can find that. You can buy it on Etsy. Jenny says, how do you know much resin for each project? Experience. In all reality, I wish I could tell you there's a formula, but there is not. How much resin you need depends on the size of your canvas, and it also depends on how much glass you use. Inside the Shattered Circle, for every project we do, I tell you exactly how much resin is needed. That's one of the good things about having somebody who's been using resin for 20 years. I pretty much just know in my head, oh, well, I don't have much glass, or my canvas is large or small or whatever. It just comes with experience. Melinda says, I think I joined last night before going to sleep, but don't see a confirmation anywhere. Melinda, if you want to email us at info@artshattered.com, we can check on that for you. And if you didn't get signed up, we can get you that link so you can. Can you resin over a napkin? You can if you Mod Podge it on first. You want to put Mod Podge down, put your napkin on, put Mod Podge over, let it dry, then you can resin over that. Yay, Joyce! Joyce, this tracer for this pumpkin and yesterday's will be in the Facebook page, the private member Facebook page sometime tomorrow, okay? Let's see. 3 minutes up. Cheryl says, I put the resin on my tree last night. Noticed there's a dime size spot I missed. Can't fix it tonight, tomorrow. No, if you get to it within 24-ish hours, a little more is not going to hurt. You can put a second coat on it. If you wait a week or so, I would like lightly scuff up the resin before I put more resin on it, because it could delaminate. But I think they say within 24 hours, but I've done it like 2 days later and it's been fun. Yay, Angela is now a sister. Catherine, I'm going to be in the Outer Banks Monday through Saturday next week. Let's see. All right, I see that Catherine has been answering a lot of these questions, so I'm just going to move on. Time is up. I've done this for 3 minutes, so here's what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is cover my glass. That is what you want to make sure you get the most resin on, okay? So I'm going to start with that, and I'm just going to scoop up a little bit of resin on my little brush or my applicator, and I'm drizzling it right on top of that glass. And I'm going from right to left or right or top to bottom, whatever direction I start with, so that I know where I've hit and where I haven't. I don't go willy-nilly all like, ooh, like this, because then you kind of lose your place. You don't remember where you started and stopped, and so, then you'll end up maybe skipping a spot, and you'll come back the next day and you'll have this big clump of glass that didn't get resin, and you're gonna be sad. I've been sad before. I've learned this from experience, guys. I speak from experience. I've been doing this I've been doing glass art for over 10 years, and I've been working with resin for over 20. Not a beginner, so trust me when I say go methodically. Now I'm going to use the edge of my little brush applicator to kind of just run a little bead of resin right along that glass string, because it will help that be a little stronger. We'll do this one, just a little string of resin, just helps strengthen that string so it doesn't break easily. We'll do this one right in there. And the last one, I'm glad I did 5. I think it looks better. I could have done 10, wanted to. So now I'm going to do this little bit of glass. And then we'll do that top bit of glass, and then I'll show you how to finish out your project. All right, so we'll do this, get it on, make sure it's good and covered. And with the remaining glass, or resin, not glass, with the remaining resin in my cup, I'm just gonna drizzle it around and finish out the rest of my canvas. So this 1 ounce was perfect for this size and amount of glass that we used on this project. Your 1 ounce is just right. So I'm going to get all that off my applicator. I'll set that aside. And I'm going to use my hand. I'm just going to use my hands, my fingers to spread that. I feel like I've done both. I've used a sponge brush that then you have to toss, so that's kind of a waste. I've used a chip brush that then you have to toss, so that's a waste. Then I started using the applicator, and I've used my hands and the applicator many times, and for some reason I just always revert back to using my hands. I kind of feel like it spreads better, or I have more control. I don't know, it might just be me being silly, but I do like to just spread it with my fingers. It's just me. You do you, boo. You do what works for you. So I'm going to make sure we're covered down here at the bottom. Make sure I don't have any little skippies around these strings. That's where you're going to have a skippy if you're going to have one on this project, where you missed going around those little stringies. All right, now I like to take my finger, I'm gonna look at it like from different angles and make sure I don't have any little spots that have missed resin, because you'll be able to tell, because it should show up shiny, and if you see a spot that's not shiny, then it doesn't have resin. Then I like to just take my finger and go all the way around the outside edge of my project. And I feel like that just kind of helps seal my edge, because I do not resin the sides of my canvas. That's also just a personal choice. You do you. I'm gonna wipe that off my glove because I'm gonna reuse these in the morning. What I'm gonna do real quick is grab some blocks to elevate my canvas, because you want it elevated so that if you do happen to have any drips off the side, you're not gluing your canvas down to your table. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab my heat gun, and I'm going to just run my heat gun over the top, just a few strokes here and there, a few little runs. Oh, I completely was too close. You see how I'm too close and it's making my vitrigraph move around? So now I'm going to grab a little pointy thing. This is a seed thing, or a bead thing. And I'm going to push that back down in my glass where I wanted it to be and messed it up. So let me just squish that back around. I'm going to have to touch that a little bit. There we go. Get it back in where I want it to be. Wipe that resin off your little pick. And now, oh, I see a little Skippy. See, I'm not immune either. I'm gonna use my finger. I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna clean that off. You can use an alcohol wipe. One of the girls in my membership, her family makes these. They are mixed media wipes for painting and resin. We'll post her link because these are fantastic, and it's a home-based business, and she could use some love and encouragement too because she just recently lost her husband. So we are supporting our girl Gina. So I'm gonna get that resin off my hands, off my table, and I'm gonna add some seed beads. Now I brought the same two colors that we used yesterday. This one has fast increasing being my favorite. It's from Hobby Lobby. It's in the jewelry department, and it's called 6-0 glass seed beads, and the color name is Autumn, which is perfect because it's autumn, right? All right, so I'm gonna grab a cup. I'm gonna pour some of those beads in my little baby cup, and I'm gonna add those to the bottom right around where my glass is. And if I had added these before I resin, they would be rolling all over the place and you would have zero control over where they went. This way, they just fall right into that resin. The wet resin helps glue them on. And look at that. That is so spectacular. Love this color seed bead. All right, so I'm going to put those in my little other cup. Now I'm going to take, I have a rogue bead. I'm going to stab him and put him right back where he needs to be. Don't you go rogue on me. And I'm going to grab some of these translucent ones. That is transparent crystal. All these jewelry department, Hobby Lobby. They're on sale every 10 minutes. So I'm going to get a little bit of these crystals, these little seed beads, and they're going to be like frost on the pumpkins. I'm going to add them. I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to add them on one side of my pumpkin, or two sides. I'm just going to add them wherever I see fit. Just add a few here and there. If you get a few that go rogue and you don't, and they go where you don't want them to go, you completely can come in with a toothpick or a little jewel pick or something like that and kind of push them around. All right, so I have this. So if they go somewhere I don't want them to go, you can totally, thanks Lou, you can totally just push them in with a toothpick or something and put them back where they belong. Voila! What do you think? Is this not adorable? Let me show you the bottom. Look how cute the bottom is. I would love to see you guys do one with like more of this green, and I may have to do that maybe over the weekend. I'll do another pumpkin and do tons of vitrigraph. I'd like to see like a whole thatch of them. So there's the blue, and then there is the white pumpkin. So cute.